Okay, here's the finished poster study. So what I did is just did the same thing that I talked about in the last video. I just went, as I put in, say like this color, I just looked at it, and I looked at it in relation to the two other colors that I had established. And then when I put in this color, I looked at it in relation to that color, and also in relation to those other ones. So as you go through the painting, you're able to sort of build more and more relationships, and you have more points of reference to judge against. But it's all about just looking at those four properties of color. Is this color, what hue is it, and how is that different from the color that's next to it? How is it different in terms of temperature, chromatic intensity, and value? The other thing to keep in mind with this is the color of the light. And you want to make sure that each time you put down a color, if it's part of a color on a particular object that's in the light, you're going to have a certain expectation about the warmth of it relative to the shadow. So in other words, when I mixed this color, I knew it was going to be lighter than this color, but I also knew it was going to be warmer because that orange light is hitting it. So every one of these colors out in the light is going to be warmer than what it looks like in the shadow. So this is warmer than this. This is warmer than this. This is warmer than the shadow, right? So, and you can't miss that, because if you miss that, then you miss the quality of this light. The light won't be consistent. So not only does this have to be lighter because the light's hitting it, it also has to be warmer than this. So this is lighter in value than this, and it has to be warmer than that. So that's a good thing to kind of carry with you as you're making these other judgments about those four properties of color. All right, and then once you fill the canvas, which I've done now, then the next step is to step back and compare, because now for the first time when you have everything down, it's not the time to stop. It's the time to look, because you're seeing the relationships in kind of a true way, because they're surrounded by the colors that they're surrounded by up there. So the next step is then to look and to see what kind of adjustments you can make. If all the colors are relating properly in terms of those four properties, that's great. But now you can make slightly more modulated judgments about these colors because you've got them all next to one another. So when I look at mine, for example, and compare it to what I see up there, what I notice is that this color up here, it's operating in the right way relative to the other colors, but it's a little on the warm side. Look, that green up there is a little bit of a cooler green. It's got a little bit more blue in it. So I've kind of overdone the warmth a little bit. So now I can go back and make that adjustment. But it's a good principle as you're putting in these colors to, if you're going to err on the side of say like in this case of being too warm or too cool, it's better to err on the warm side, because that's sort of where the character of that shape is. That's its part that it's playing in the setup, is that it's a warm relative to its shadow over there. So if I'd have made it really cold, like got too much white into it or too much blue into it, and it looked cold, just as cold as this, that would really screw up my sense of that warm light. So you're always trying to sort of push these colors at the beginning towards what their principal character is. All right, so that's it. It's not very complicated, and it shouldn't take a long time. I mean, ideally, your first one, it might take you a little bit, but ideally you'd be able to go through these in like 15 or 20 minutes and really knock out these color relationships. And again, don't worry about the drawing. If the drawing's off, I don't care. Just make sure that you're definite about the shapes that you're making, keeping them limited, and really focus on getting those four properties of color relating properly with these limited number of shapes that you've got.